around 33, 34 degrees, and it's damn hot out in the middle. Do you think that's going to play a big part today in this Port Darwin Hearts game?
Look, I think, again, with the weather's always that sort of age-old thing we say, but both teams are going to have to deal with it.
Yep.
I think, Hearts have had a lot of games at this time slot this season. They'll be very used to it. And Port Darwin are a very tough team, so I think both teams should be okay with a bit of heat. Yeah,
I noticed that just before you came up here, they're all hugging the shadow and shade on this side. No one was venturing out in the sunlight. Now, George, you've had a look at the team sheets. There's some ins and outs. What are you expecting today, first of all, from Port Darwin?
Well, Port Darwin, I think, is still buoyed by the opportunity that they still could potentially play a role in the final series this season. So
absolutely.
They'll be buoyed by that. And then also a massive inclusion is Wold Jock back into the team.
Yep.
People might remember he scored and then infamously got himself injured, that facial injury.
It wasn't good.
Oh, no, not good at all. But Lee Addison's very excited to have him back in the side. First game since July. And then as well on the flip side, we've got Darwin Hearts who welcome the return of Robin Tresher as well. He's going to play a role in the match.
Yep.
Coach said he'll be probably off the bench in the second half.
Okay.
But two massive ins for both teams.
Yeah, and just on the youngster who had the broken cheekbone and everything else around his face and the eye socket. Extraordinary comeback. I mean, he's worked really hard and he's been being a referee actually too, so he's been running the lines and stuff. But any player who comes back for injury is going to be a little tentative, you would imagine, in his first interactions. Mm-hmm. But as the coach, Lee Addison, said, what a plus for their side. They need to win this. And just a reminder too, the last time these guys met, who won, George?
Oh, the Hearts, 2-0.
Thank you, mate. So that'll be in the back of their memory as it is in yours. We'll see how this one goes. Now, listen, we've got a game on later on tonight too. We also had a game last night. We've got Uni Zuri pushing up to get to second. How do you think that's going to go between them and Mindle over the next 2 weeks? Do you reckon Uni Zuri may get second behind Hellenic?
Look, I really like the form that Zuri's in.
Yep.
I think it was touched on a couple of weeks ago that the tactics employed by Raditas earlier in the season are finally coming to fruition.
Yeah.
I'm really excited by watching Zuri play. Uche, Chris up front, fantastic. Is costing so many match balls.
And those salmon boots.
But Mindle as well, not to discount them. I think, like we said, they're a good side. Hit a bit of a rut, but they're going to be so eager to bounce back. So the last remaining 2 weeks for both those teams, it's going to be one watching the other, really.
Right, great summary, George. Look forward to hearing your comments with Tio. Tio down in lockdown in Melbourne. Out to you, Tio, and the family, and everyone in Melbourne and around Victoria. We really feel for you in that second lockdown, and hopefully you'll be out of it soon and playing the round ball game, training the round ball game, just doing something with the round ball.
Yep.
So, look, George will be doing the expert comments with Tio. We'll let you go down there now. George, my name is Bruce Stiller. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back at half-time to sort of pick it apart. But in the meantime, sit back, whatever devices you're on, enjoy this 4 o'clock game local time. Men's Premier League, Port Darwin taking on Darwin Hearts.
Good afternoon and welcome to live Men's Premier Division from Football Northern Territory. Round 16 continues with a vital game in the battle for the top four. Port Darwin against Darwin Hearts. Quite simply, it is no excuses and no more second chances for Port Darwin. They need to win today in order to keep their hopes of making the top four alive. Their opponent, though, has proven to be a significant banana skin this season. Of the 3 wins that Darwin Hearts have had this year, 2 of them have come at Port Darwin's expense. Quite simply, Port Darwin will be ruining the fact that they haven't been able to take care of business against one of the teams that has been goal shy and has struggled to win matches. And yet, at kickoff today, they are in a situation where they must win. If they drop points here, well, the gap from them to Casuarina will surely be too big to overcome. Port kick off the day on 16 points and a goal difference of -15. Casuarina on 22 points and a goal difference of -7. It may be a bit much to suggest that a rather depleted Port team need to win and win well. I think they'll simply just take 3 points here and then leave it up to their remaining head-to-head games to try and gate crash the top four. They were significantly beaten last Saturday night. In the end, it slipped away to 4-1 against Uniatsuri, and that damage to the goal difference has certainly been a significant factor as we kick off here. And it's Darwin Hearts in possession, and they'll be looking to win their 4th game of the season. They've won plenty of admirers with the way that they've played this year and continued to establish themselves in this top flight in their first season against this level of competition. And the fact that they've been able to stay in games for long periods of time, to frustrate even the top teams and lose narrowly on a number of occasions. Well, they'll be hoping to add to their current tally of 10 points. It's telling that they don't draw many. They either win or they lose. As we see here, Darwin Hearts in the white shirts, Sajal Shrestha, one of a number of Shreshthas in the team today, the strong Nepalese connection. And that through ball down to the keeper gives us a chance to run through the team. So Port Darwin, who had their goalkeeper Rory Hood sent off last week, they've got Dominic Price in goal, Declan O'Shea number 3, 6 Jonah Rule scored their goal last week, 7 Jose Raimundo returning to the outfield after having to play as goalie last weekend. Number 8, often my co-commentator, John Dean, starting today for Port Darwin. 11 is Andrew Savis. We'll stay with Jose Raimundo here as he's able to hurdle past one defender. And then blazing it, off the outside of the goal frame. For a moment there, I thought he'd managed to pick the impossible angle, but that deflection was off the stand holding up the net rather than the post itself, out for a goal kick. Tried to thread the eye of the needle there, Jose Raimundo. Continuing through the Port Darwin team, 15 is Sean Hodor, 16 Jonas Carasalis, 17 Wold Jock, 18 Jay Adams, and 19 Terry Fannin. And for Darwin Hearts, their goalkeeper Jordan Stobbart, 4 is Sanjib Bhattarai, 8 Sandip Subedi, 9 Biomi Ane, who scored the match-winning goal the first time these two teams played all the way back in round 3. Number 10, Sajal Shrestha, 12 Niroj Shrestha, 13 Shrawan Shrestha, 16 is Atathep Anuta Angul, 21 Oshim Bimali, 35 Jayan Mulla, as we see this cross holding up and Wild Jock making a challenge for the ball but held onto by the keeper. And at number 46 is Nemish Jung Cook. And it gives me the chance to welcome to the commentary box, you saw him in the pre-game show, George Scorsese. Apologies, George, but great to have you on board for today's game.
Thanks, Terry. It's great to be here. Hoping it's been a great day for you down here, as it has been a fantastic day up here in the NT.
Now, I heard you mention in pre-game that we're in the low to mid-30s, so it is a rainy, cold day in Melbourne this afternoon. Paint the picture for our viewers from around Australia and around the world, both the weather and also the pitch conditions, because the pitch is looking a bit greener and a bit healthier than in recent weeks.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Teo. I guess contrasting weathers with the Victorian climate at the moment. It's very, very humid still here. hot, very sticky conditions. But yes, you're right. The pitch looks fantastic for this time of the season. Great running.
And Jose Raimundo will be happy to run onto it here, cutting back, and the defence had to intercept. It was Giant Muller who was there for Darwin Hearts. And now Hodor playing it to Raimundo, twisting and turning, and he's already shown his hand as the main attacking threat for Port Darwin. And George, I wanted to ask you about just some of the absentees for this Port Darwin team, because of course Rory Hood got sent off last week. He's suspended. Isaac Paul, their top scorer, hasn't played for a number of weeks. And even though they were able to add Sean Hodor before the registration window closed, Port Darwin are far from at their strongest, aren't they?
Oh, that's absolutely right. I mean, I had a chance to go down earlier, a pre-game, and speak to Coach Lee Addison, and that's the thing he mainly focused on for the lead-up for this week, is that there's a number of players out, and also with the, as you mentioned, with Isaac Paul, he is close. We can say to returning. He's a couple of weeks out, and so that's going to be a big emphasis on Port Darwin, is where their goals will come from today.
And of course, the run home in the fixture, well, they've got today's game, and then next week, Port Darwin against Mindle Aces on Friday night, and they'll be hoping for a big favour later. Well, they've got Casuarina next week. That'll pretty much be for all the marbles. They'll be hoping for a big favour from Hellenic tonight. They need Hellenic to win big against Casuarina Port Darwin. They need to win today. That would close the gap to 3 points, and then they play for everything on Saturday, September the 12th in the night game, and then in the final round, well, that might just be what decides who gets in. It could come down to goal difference, depending on these results. But the bottom line, George, is if they don't win today, then next week's game against Casuarina may well be a moot point.
Yeah, spot on, Teo, and you hope that's going to provide Port with just an extra emphasis of a surgence in the game. And as we've seen so far, the ball has been played in Hearts from half.
So they've got another corner here. 5.5 minutes, and none of these set pieces have come to much. And again, a rather gentle shot just rolling off the boot into the hands of Stobbart there. And in that final round, so next weekend, Casuarina versus Port Darwin. In the final round, Port Darwin play Mindle and Casuarina play Darwin Hearts. So if it does come to pass that Port Darwin wins today and then beats Casuarina next week, they might still end up getting pipped on goal difference. Last weekend's game against Uni Atsuri was so important for them. And that red card before the game even really got underway was vital. They were down to 10 men. They had an outfielder playing in goal for the entire match. And they left themselves with a massive uphill battle. It's also a reflection on Uni Atsuri that they were able to put them to the sword, where in previous games they had really struggled to score goals. So we see Raimundo again. He is trying to single-handedly make things happen at the moment, and Darwin Hearts just happy to defend and boot the ball away. Of course, last night to start the weekend, Uni Atsuri beating Mindle Aces 5-3. I had the stream on for the end of that. It was 5-3, 3 red cards. The Premier got decided. Hellenic can't be dislodged from top spot. So we've already had quite a marker set down to start the weekend. As we see Darwin Hearts from right back, just happy to consolidate possession. You can see the number of players that Port Darwin have got in the attacking half here, trying to win back the ball. And it means that Darwin Hearts might be able to play through them on the counter here. The back line is tracking and able to defend successfully. Declan O'Shea had to make that interception because his entire back line was all running, facing their own goals. And now, a bit of end-to-end football at the moment. Raimundo unmissable in those fluoro yellow boots. He's being stood up one-on-one here, and it comes to a standstill. A battle of will against his marker as he dances on the ball against Oshim Bimali. And then his little pass back was under hit. Now it's there to be won. Opportunity coming through for Jay Adams, the defender pushing up. And then taking possession away is Nimesh Jung. And as he surveys the options, playing it out to the right, it's a real burst of speed and an opportunity for Niroj Shrestha shooting and putting it into the side netting. And it didn't get a touch off the defender or the keeper, but the counter-attack for Port Darwin, well, they've left themselves very vulnerable, haven't they, George? Because Darwin Hearts have shown that they can break.
Oh, absolutely right. And then there's no further to that point even last week. They played the now premiers in Hellenic, but last week they had several opportunities on the counter-attack. So Port Darwin will have to be very wary of that speedy Hearts break.
Especially given the temptation to commit numbers forward. The longer it stays 0-0, the more desperate they might become. Port Darwin with a more measured build-up this time, and it's deflected out for a corner kick. So Hearts, not the tallest team, in fact, probably the shortest team in the league, but they do have Biomi and A in the starting lineup today. He's the perhaps only obvious aerial target. You can see him just lurking at the bottom of the screen, right at the edge of the penalty area, perhaps trying to avoid the attention of the defenders, but Declan O'Shea has gone and found him. Said, don't think you can hide from me. If I'm going to mark you, I'll come and find you regardless of where you're set up for this corner kick. First of the day for Darwin Hearts. Trying to beat Port Darwin for the third time out of 4 this season. In the corner, well, it was a little half chance, missed initially, and then Nimesh Jung volleys it out for a goal kick. Of course, tonight's game, Hellenic versus Casuarina. Hellenic have proven themselves to have Casuarina's measure when they've met previously. So we wait for the goal kick here. Port Darwin looking to press back into attack, but that pass is overhit. Keeper's ball. Now popped over the top. Jock making a challenge. Darwin Hearts have got numbers back in defence, but they've played themselves into trouble here, and Stobbart was aware of the danger. He won't be happy with his defence for falling asleep on the job there, though. Presenting a little half chance to Wild Jock. Now Port Darwin resume attacking once again. Spin on the ball from Jonah Rule. Scored last weekend, won't get the chance here. It's Hearts. Well, they're their own worst enemy at the moment with the way they're defending, and this free kick is right at the edge of the area. And George, they've invited on pressure needlessly, it seems. Darwin Hearts, you're at the venue. Is that a lack of shouting and communication among the defenders to let players know that they're under the pump?
Yeah, I think there's a bit of lack of communication on Hearts' side, which we saw early on in the match last week against Hellenic. So some repeat behaviours, but they're going to have to rectify that very quickly.
So Jose Raimundo stands solo over this free kick. Hearts, their own worst enemies, giving this opportunity away right at the edge of the box. 4 in the wall. Stobbart, an excellent keeper. You can now 5 in the wall as they add another player. You can see he's wearing the cap. There's a rather strong wind as well. Taking the ball left to right as you see it on your screens. Here's the free kick, and it aimed at the top right corner. Not too far away, George. A decent attempt.
Yeah, it's close there by Raimundo. He's going to kick himself for not getting that, I guess, at least on target, testing Stobbart, but, you know, very early signs.
And as the keeper, he'll be happy that he didn't even have to dive after that free kick and can go and play it out to the right. Quick turn, and now Hearts might be away. Long ball. And look at the pace here. Oh, scuffed on. better chance than it looked for Shrawan Shrestha. Maybe getting a little excited trying to shoot on sight rather than take proper control of the ball. You'd have to suggest that Darwin Hearts on the counter-attack have had two of the better chances in the game. And now at the other end, Wild Jock is causing all sorts of problems for the Hearts defence. This time, Giant Marler is able to retrieve the ball and play it. Still not totally secure yet. Nimesh Jung. Back it goes. And Wild Jock again just saying, if you play it backwards, I'm going to press up. And so they've turned possession over. And now Raimundo. Quick early ball. Wild Jock. He's run out onto a tight angle. Goes to ground. And it's going to be a goal kick. And I hope he hasn't hurt himself here as he's gone to the deck. It looked like there was no contact. So it was a non-contact fall to the turf. And it's hard to tell exactly what's wrong with him as a result. As he rolls back up, I think he's going to be okay to continue without the need to call the trainer. I think is he claiming he was fouled there, George? I didn't see anything untoward.
Yeah, I think he was maybe you could trying to buy into that a little bit, see if Tim was going to bite on that. But yeah, definitely little to no contact on that one.
Today's referee is Tim Lay, assistants Eric Zyra over on the near side and Mark Dent on the outer side. Caught in possession, backtracking and doing well. Hodor, and now with the left foot he's going to distribute out to the right, bouncing perfectly into the path of Raimundo. Great pass, but Raimundo's struggled to bring it under his control here and now has kept it in. When it seemed destined to go out for a throw, he's barged over in the penalty area, but legally, says the referee, no shouts for a penalty from the sideline. So Hearts prevail with the ball. 15 minutes they've survived so far under a lot of pressure from Port Darwin. And Tura Ungul plays it on. And Adams to Dean. Now Rule. And can't thread it back into the path of Adams, and that will run long out for a goal kick. The game has settled down here. George, what do you make of the tactical battle so far between the two teams?
Yeah, Taylor, I think early on, Port Darwin really had that stranglehold of the game with a lot of early possession. And then since we've had a couple decent quick-fire counter-attacks from Hearts, and I think since then it's kind of settled down to much more of an even game. I think Port Darwin are very wary of over-committing numbers forward. So fingers crossed we've got a very good contest on both ends today.
For a long goal kick this time. It's not going to make it to halfway though. Port trying to work through the middle. That one will evade Jock, and Stobbart calls off the defenders and says keeper's ball. And so they get out of the way and allow him to slide in. Over the top from Niroj Shrestha. Needed a defensive header to get it away. Through comes Fannin. He had to do so much work in defence last week against Tatsuri. We've barely needed to call his name so far in this one, reflecting where on the pitch the game has been taking place more than anything. Now Hearts are going to work the right flank. They can't keep it in though, running out of room. Hard up against the touchline means that they'll have to reset and get ready to defend instead. Hodor. Rule. Through the middle. Just tried to go direct and slip in Jock, but he couldn't get the ball to him. Hodor now. Danger of potentially a shot from outside the box, and you could just sense that Hodor drifting forward. He wanted to have a go, and perhaps that eagerness to take a shot meant he took a low percentage option, and it slewed out off the side of his boots. So if today's game was to end in a draw, then Port would go to just 17 points. It means that they would need a big favour at some stage from Darwin Hearts. Casuarina would have to lose to Hellenic tonight. Port would have to beat Casuarina next weekend. And then in the final round, they would pretty much, due to goal difference, need Darwin Hearts to beat Casuarina to leave the door to the top 4 open. So really, it is a must-win today. It cannot be overstated how important it is that they get the 3 points today. Port's only win against Darwin Hearts this season was all the way back in round 8. Feels like quite a while ago, given we're now in round 16. Hodor, Wall. Oh, good combination. Didn't quite come off. Oh, it's an errant touch, and while Jock is trying to win the ball, and then he goes and, well, he really threw his body across the defender there more than anything. Certainly great enthusiasm to try and win possession, but couldn't do so. Consolidating on the ball here, Oshim Bimali. And then the little flick on from Sajal. Biomi Ane, we've barely called his name. And Fannin, who's been marking him, asking a lot of his keeper, played Price into a bit of bother. And he's hurriedly clearing the ball away, and now the maroon shirts are prevalent and able to consolidate possession. But it was an ambitious back pass from Terry Fannin. Could well have come unstuck. Adams. Hodor. Directing traffic from central midfield. He wants players moving to the right positions ahead of the ball. Adams. Now John Dean. Raimundo. Very deep Raimundo. They might want him in a more advanced position. Dean is going to load up and go for glory. And that never really looked likely. And perhaps reflective of a bit of impatience to try and make something happen as the game remains 0-0. You can see Stobbart in absolutely no rush to take these goal kicks. Happy to let his defenders get another breather. Rule. And now Hodor, John Dean. Shanked clearance back into the path of Sean Hodor. And then just a little casual on the ball, and Niraj Shrestha was able to take it off his toes, send it out to the sideline. Darwin Hearts have the ball. How would you describe, George, the sort of the intensity from Port Darwin? It feels as though their desperation to try and score has just eased off a little bit. They're maybe biding their time a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So the general vibe down here still, though, from the coach is at a high level. Very encouraging his team to keep pressing on. But yeah, to your point, the tempo has dropped a little bit. They've not surrendered much ground on the pitch, but yeah, they're just settling for more of a controlling stage of the game, you could say, Port Darwin.
Now through the left, Raimundo. We haven't really seen him venture over to this side of the pitch. He's going to cut back onto his preferred right foot. Dean, heavy touch, and it's been missed by the defender. Jock. He struggles to keep his feet at time, Jock. Just whether it's slipping or whether he's trying to just enthusiastically throw his body at the ball. Seems to go off balance a little bit too much. Occasion was a similar instance. And now given away and the opening goal. So after all that trying, it has been a mistake that has cost Darwin Hearts so dearly, and the relief for Port Darwin. Congratulations for the players. And they take a 1-0 lead in the 25th minute, and just as it seemed, they were starting to ease up and bide their time and be a bit more patient about trying to find a goal. Instead, they have just opened up the defence and been able to make it 1-0. And the easiest of finishes for Raimundo. He has been the main threat. And Jose Raimundo, a week after spending almost the entire game in goal, will be thrilled to be back on the score sheet. So we break the deadlock, George. What do you make of the opening goal?
I mean, like you're saying, Teo, I don't think Port Darwin upped that tempo whatsoever, but I think it's just been Darwin Hearts' Achilles heel this season. It's a simple mistake at the back really cost them a goal, and as again today.
Raimundo trying to make it 2 in a minute, this time high over the top and sent out into the park behind the field. Raimundo was being played on side. I was trying to look at the footage back at defender, and Jordan Stobbart was quick to point out the giveaway in midfield, which proved so costly. All it took was one pass, and a couple of defenders were playing Raimundo on side, and he had, while Jock there for company, they could have raffled it really. Either of them could have scored. And now they press again, and that should have been 2. That should have been 2 for Raimundo, and he's put it wide. And that could have been a chance to relax maybe for the rest of the game for Port Darwin. And the chances are coming thick and fast now. And George, you just hope for Port Darwin's sake that they won't regret that miss.
No, Teo, that's exactly right. I think that goal has given the players and then the technical area a bit of a G up. They're definitely a bit more energetic now, and they're going to be looking to press on to close that goal difference gap that they need.
That's an excellent point. The goal difference, that's something that Casuarina will be watching on, hoping doesn't get closed too much tonight ahead of their own game against Hellenic, who they lost to 5-0 last time the teams met. Here's a high ball in and held on to comfortably enough. Port Darwin's goal difference improves to -14. Casuarina's is still -7. So there's a very big gap between the two. Good energy here, pressing forward. Raimundo caught in possession though. Attempted through ball. Fannin is staying goal side and defends well there. It's the last defender in position for Port Darwin, but was able to stand his ground and make sure that there was no progress. Now Port trying to spread the field. Adams is forced to go sideways, and then you saw him throw his head back because he's given possession away. And Adams, again, takes possession. He's been willing to venture up the field. Some nights you don't really see him leave the centre of defence, but he's taken a few liberties today in a different role to be able to try and force the issue. Given away again by Hearts, but they're not going to be made to pay for it on this occasion as Port Darwin work their way backwards. Over the top, Hearts go, and it's a lost cause to go and chase there. Too much on it for Niroj to try and chase down. And perhaps the menace of that counter-attack, which was present in the first 15 minutes or so, has just dissipated a little bit. Scoring goals, of course, has been Darwin Hart's problem all season, as we see Jock there willing to go and chase a very difficult ball. It was always likely it was going to beat him to the touchline. Hearts in recent games didn't score against Hellenic last week, didn't score against Mindle in round 14. He scored 2 against Port back in round 13, though. They also scored against Uni Atsuri in round 12. Didn't score in their midweek game against Hellenic. But it is the final piece of the puzzle for them, perhaps, just to be a more present goal threat. Have the opponent a bit more concerned about committing numbers forward against them. That lack of goal scoring has been the main reason why they've drawn so few games. So many of their games have been losses this year, because as soon as they go behind, they don't really ever look like scoring to get back in the game. Raimundo chasing down that ball to the sideline. Beats him over the paint, though. Out for a throw in deep at left back for Hearts. Hodor. Touch from Jock, falls kindly with Raimundo. Has the only goal of the game so far. Now Hodor and Jock, maybe a little bit unselfish, perhaps could have thought about turning rather than trying to find his teammate. And now challenging Biomi Ane. He's come across and Fannin, no nonsense defending, just blazed through. Got a little bit of contact on his right foot for his trouble, it seems, that left him on his haunches, but Port Darwin are going to try and attack in the meantime. Rule plays it through the middle and keep his ball. It was uncompromising defending from Terry Fannin, keeping things tight at the back at the moment for Port Darwin as they hold this 1-0 lead. Got into trouble there in a 1-on-3, Sajal Shrestha. And the pass over the top is going to roll back to Stobbart. Throw in taken by Bimali. Shanked pass. Biomiane is going to try and make it work. After holding up the ball, he's able to send it back to Sajal. Oh, that's a clever touch from Niroj, and Sajal couldn't connect the 1-2. That would have been a slick little move, but it wasn't to be. Jay Adams asking, where are my options? He goes to Jock. Wide on the right side. Raimundo hooks it into the middle. John Dean, overlapping run. This is a good build-up here from Port Darwin, but the finish was lacking. And Savas will be cursing that he wasn't able to strike with a bit more conviction. And George, that's probably the nicest footballing move we've seen of the entire game. It just needed a better shot to reward the effort.
Yeah, the longer the game's going on, they're building up this really good into on. I think it's just going to be a matter of time before connect one sweetly, whoever it may be, and it might finish off a great passage of play. So good signs for Port.
Yeah, they really did pick the gaps and move the ball very nisely in that move. Are we getting a sub here, George?
Yeah, there's a change now coming for Hearts. Looks like Kushal Nepal is coming onto the pitch, and that's in replacement of Nimish Jung, who's just come from the field.
That's not sure about the health of Nimesh Jung. I thought he had some all right moments in the game on the ball. A very confident player on the ball, but 35 minutes has proven enough. The heat of the day may be a factor. Raimundo takes the free kick, and from the edge of the 6-yard box, it's kept away from Rule and booted out of the area. It's going to be returned with interest, potentially. A shanked clearance is going to spin, and the back spin takes it out for a throw, going the way of Port Darwin. From defensive midfield, Rule and Hodor combine. Now Adams. Rule. Darwin Hearts right on the scene. Question for you, George. Just my perception is that Jose Raimundo is being played too deep and needs to be moved further up the pitch into a more attacking position. It seems as though whenever he's taking possession, it's going sideways rather than in a more advanced role. And we saw in the first 5 minutes of the game that he was able to really attack the penalty area, and it just feels as though Port Darwin are dragging him up the pitch and aren't utilising him, as we see here, where he can do the most amount of damage. I'll come back for your answer in a moment. This attack continues. Deflected shot, Rule blocked away. And now the counter-attack potentially on for Darwin Hearts. They need to pick the right pass, though. It's more hit and hope as it goes out. But to that point, should Raimundo be playing further up the pitch?
Yeah, no, it definitely seems as though Teo has been pushed out wide. But I guess as you say that now, it seems like there's been another positional change on the pitch now with Jock coming to the right and now Raimundo going down the middle. So they might have heard you from down in Melbourne, Teo, because they made a bit of a switch in formation.
So free kick given and taken quickly. Rule loves a long shot, is going to take a go, and even though Stobbart was diving, his goal was not under threat as the target ended up being missed. Port Darwin would love a second before the break. They'd love to just know that the points are potentially safe, and then they can go to try and chip away at this big goal difference deficit that they've got on Casuarina. The last thing they would want is to leave the door ajar for Port Darwin to counter-attack or potentially look like they could get back in the game. They want to go into halftime with the opponent seemingly thinking only about defending rather than trying to get back in the game. Pass here from Subadi, and it's really sold his teammate into trouble, and Jock is quite the specialist in trying to catch the opponent in possession as he presses up again. Nearly able to get the ball loose inside his penalty area on that occasion. Long ball from Hearts. Biomiane is going to challenge from deep. Not the most decisive header. O'Shea has to deal with it here. And he's being challenged by Shrawan and is able to get the ball away. It's the other thing, maybe factor in that Hearts don't want to, or Port don't want to leave themselves vulnerable to a mistake costing them with only a 1-goal advantage. Distributed to the right. Raimundo. He's going to cut in from that right side, and he's caught in possession this time. He doesn't like it. He goes and tries to win the ball back. And he does in the end. Persistence. He didn't like that Niroj came in and picked his pocket. And now he's in a 1-on-2. And eventually the ball is rolled out for a Port Darwin throw. Into the penalty area it goes. Challenge again from Jock. And this time it comes to naught. Hearts restart. Less than 5 minutes of regulation in the first half to go. Here's a winding run. Rule tried to knock it back into the path of Hodor, couldn't do so. Rule tried to knock it to his own advantage, couldn't do so. Hearts resorting to the long ball and the hit and hope at the moment. It's defended by John Dean on this occasion. It's a physical challenge from Hodor, and I'm not 100% convinced that was a foul, but the referee says that he illegally took out Sajal Shrestha, so it's a free kick to Hearts. Volleyed on over to the corner. It'll be interesting to see if Hearts at least push a few numbers up here, try to trap Port Darwin in their defensive half, or if they're just going to give them easy progress out of the defence here. Long throw, Raimundo able to protect the ball under the challenge of Bimali. And indeed, they are out of defence without too much trouble, Port Darwin. Hart backtracking. Mala doesn't want to get totally caught in possession here. He's able to just stand his ground over the corner kick and usher the ball out for assistant referee's decision is. Looks like Darwin Hart's ball. And now by contrast, let's see just how determined Port Darwin are to win this first-time ball. As Darwin Hart's trying to get out of defence, and well, they won't even need to try to win it because it's been hooked out for a Port Darwin throw. Taken by Adams. Raimundo. Hodor. Block tackle away. Fannin. Plays it to Raimundo. Bending cross, dangerous cross, a great cross, and 2-0. Great finish as well from Wild Jock. Is it offside though? As Wild Jock goes to ground. Our man on the scene, George, has the goal been paid or is it offside?
Teo, I don't think it's been paid. The linesman did raise his flag as the ball went over Stobbard, so I don't think it's a goal. I think they've just paused the game now because Wall was caught on that attempt.
There we go. You saw the scoreboard update almost immediately as you gave us the word that the goal would not stand. It was a great cross from Raimundo. To the naked eye, how did it look to you? Right call by the assistant referee?
Probably couldn't separate it, Teo. It was a beautiful play, as we mentioned before, on Port Darwin. It's building and building. Darwin was just maybe inches, but right decision by the referee.
Biomine down to the other end. Last minute of the first half, it would be a complete shock against the run of play if they could grab an equaliser here. And it could potentially rattle Port Darwin, who've looked far more likely to score a second goal than Hearts have to score an equaliser. It's a game that may not have reached the greatest of heights, but it is extremely important. Port Darwin needing to win today to stay in the finals hunt. And needing a lot to go right for them between now and the end of the season. If they were to come out and run up the score in the second half, they'd be feeling a lot more bullish heading into their match against Casuarina next weekend. Of course, Casuarina play Hellenic later tonight. Given that Hellenic have already won the title, the last thing that Port Darwin would want is for Hellenic to ease up. And if Casuarina was to win, then that would just about shut the door on them anyway, because they would need to make up 6 points and the goal difference with just 2 games to go. And that is half-time. No need for much stoppage. It's a half that was dominated by Jose Raimundo, the only goal scorer after 25 minutes. And his strike after a midfield giveaway by Darwin Hearts and a quick return with players leaving him onside is the difference between the teams. Bruce and George will be up for the halftime show. Stick around for live action in the second half as well. You're watching the Men's Premier Division in Football Northern Territory, where at halftime it's Port Darwin 1, Darwin Hearts 0.
It's a wafer thin scoreline here for Port Darwin, 1-0 over Darwin Hearts. I've got George S with me. George, you were doing some expert comments with Tio during the call.
Yep.
The game pretty much played out the way you were suggesting before we got the kickoff in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
What did you see that impressed you from Hearts today? Have you seen something you haven't seen for a while and you think they need to go back to?
Yeah, I think they're playing well. I mean, I think they've made some improvements from last week against Hellenic. They're posing much more of an attacking threat for Port Darwin. You know, Port Darwin was seeing passages where they're overcommitting up forward and they're getting down their side of the pitch hard. So definitely a lot more promising than last week, for sure, Bruce.
And Robin Shrestner up the front there is doing some work as well. You've been impressed with him?
Oh, actually, Robbins hasn't come on yet.
Well, sorry if it's not. It's 18 Shrestners, one of them. Isn't it? Which one is it then?
Shrawan is playing
that's
very well.
it. Sorry, thank you.
No, but no, he's playing very well. I think.
Sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Shrestner.
I think Biomi needs to get more involved into the game.
Yeah,
he's being very isolated.
Isn't that perennial with him?
But no, they're showing signs. It's not all hope lost for Hearts. I'm sure the halftime regroup is going to give them a bit of confidence and hopefully tackle the second half in the same vein.
That's why you're the expert, George. Now, listen, just with Port Darwin, this is really meaningful. You mentioned in the pre-game that they've got to get a win. They're still in the hunt for fourth place. Have you seen enough today to think that's going to be an outcome tonight?
Yeah, they're playing well, Port Darwin. They've earned their right to be in front at half-time. Still got plenty of work to go in the second half. They're pushing, you can tell, for more goals, and they need them with their goal difference at the moment on the table. And so, equally, they're as confident as Hearts would be of getting a result.
I'm glad you mentioned about goal difference because it's really, you don't want to plague players with too many thoughts. But, you know, they do need to get goals. That's so true. They got one. They could have had a couple more, to be honest. So how do you think that plays out on these fragile heads of players?
Well, it's very delicate that you put it, Bruce, because trying to push on for more goals, you might often find yourself exposed out the back.
Absolutely.
And with Hearts ever present, the pace and the skill they've got, they might force themselves into a very dangerous position and maybe concede a goal. So they have to be very wary, and that balance needs to be right throughout the remaining 45.
George, always like to have you next to me, and good to hear your comments. Good luck with the second half to Tio and the team. Good call. We'll see how this one at the moment. Hearts behind by 1 goal against Port Darwin.
Welcome back to live pictures from Football Northern Territories Men's Premier Division. And halftime, the team in maroon, Port Darwin, who are about to kick off this second half, leading 1-0 thanks to a 25th minute goal from Jose Raimundo. They really need to win today to stand a realistic chance of still challenging for fourth spot. And so far, so good. However, there were some glaring misses during that first half, which perhaps they will live to regret if they can't score a second goal and make things safe. Of course, they've got every incentive to try and go on with the job here in the second half and run up the goal difference, because as things currently stand, they are 3 points and also 7 goals difference behind Casuarina in fourth spot. Casuarina, who play Hellenic later tonight and then play Port Darwin next weekend. Here is the goal scorer Raimundo attacking the near post, and it's out for an early throw. And at the start of the second half, as I'm rejoined by George Scousezis. George, what are your thoughts on the direction the game may head in this second 45?
Well, so it was very positive at half-time from both camps. Both coaches had some really encouraging words to say to their players, and both camps think they can enter the game in a much better fashion than the first, if we're speaking about Hearts. So very positive signs. We'll see how it plays out early on.
Scoring after they've gone behind has been Hearts' biggest obstacle this season. It's the one thing that they don't do as a team. As we see John Dean volley to himself. Oh, he's hooked it into the path of Jock, and luck was nearly a fortune. You see the referee at the top of the screen. The flag was down. It would have counted had he put it in the back of the net. And that shanked shot right into his path was nearly the perfect assist. And so that could have been 2-0. What are the chances here, George, that you think that Port Darwin can get a roll on and maybe win this 3-4, 5-0 and actually eat into a bit of that goal difference deficit that they have on Casuarina?
It's definitely possible, Teo. I mean, their recent form doesn't do them many favours. In the last 5 matches, Port have mustered 6 goals. So it's definitely possible, Teo. I mean, the welcoming back of Jock has helped. He's been very energetic up forward. They've looked good, Port, and so a couple more skillful players might end up in some goals.
You saw there, right on cue, that man Jock with a glancing header that's gone across the face. And straight out of the rooms at the start of this second half, Port Darwin have brought a bit of energy to their play. What about the weather and conditions? It was low to mid-30s at kickoff, George. What is it like now as the shadows start to creep across the ground?
The players will be very happy to know that it's actually just petering just above 30. And I guess as we venture more late into the second half, the temperature will drop into the high 20s, which is a welcome relief.
So we see an attempted long ball here intercepted. And don't forget, coming up later tonight, right here on this very channel, whether you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube, it is the game between Hellenic and Casuarina. Stick around for that one. That could prove to be hugely important if Casuarina are able to get a win or even a draw. Might just be enough to lock down a spot in the finals, if not mathematically, as we see another shot come in here. And Stobbart is able to hold on to it. He's ditched the cap, I see, for the start of the second half, George. So with the direction of the sun at the Darwin Football Stadium, Larrakia Park, does it mean that you only ever need to wear the cap when you're standing at the right of screen end, or do you think maybe it's just a personal preference from Stobbart here in the second half?
Definitely a personal preference, Teo, because looking at it, Stobbart on the pitch, there's definitely a lot of sun still in his eyes. And I guess equally now with Dominic Price replicating Stobbart now on this side. So he's gone without a hat. It's just must be personal preference, Teo.
So, yeah, as you see the shadow and the contrast when the ball goes from one half of the pitch to the other, out of the shadows, out into the bright afternoon sun. Taken quickly here by Port Darwin after referee Tim Lay put the ball on the ground for them. Here's Jonah Rule. And even though he scored with a long shot last week, that one was not even close as it sails out for a goal kick. In the first 5 minutes of this second half has been one-way traffic, but Port Darwin need to get that reward for effort if they are going to start chipping into that goal difference gap that they have. Of course, beaten 4-1 last week after a red card to their goalkeeper Rory Hood in the first 5 minutes of the game. Carasalis. And now Hodor. This is a good little solo run and a great shimmy to lose the attention of the defenders. And that might just be a goal of the season contender. Sean Hodor with a great solo run, and he's made it 2-0. And he just absolutely sold the little dummy that he was going to cut in onto his right side to perfection. All the defenders committed, and it left him with a little gap to exploit. And then just to cap it off, the outside of the left foot as he buried it in the back of the net. That is a great goal, and that should be, even at this early stage of the second half, the 3 points secured for Port Darwin. Now, George, simply a matter of how many more they can try to put in the back of the net to repair their goal difference.
It seems that way, Teo. I mean, Hearts have a very damning statistic where they've only scored 2 or more goals in 2 matches in season 2020. And one of those took place before the COVID break. So, not looking good for Hearts.
And we see, with a bit of momentum flowing, Adams, and now Raimundo. How much resistance will Darwin Hearts offer here in this second half? What they don't want is it to turn into a half-field game for 45 minutes, because that's about as far forward as they've ventured in this second half so far. Pile up of bodies here. Quick turn on the ball from Antura Angul, but he loses possession. And Hodor, fresh off scoring that goal. Rule. Now the long ball is brought down well by Jock. It's going to bounce into the area. Hodor is the danger again. And it wouldn't quite stick to his feet, but Jock is able to spill it. Hodor, and he flashes it across the face. So persistence from both Wild Jock and Sean Hodor there. Turning it into a little half chance. Now Fannin is going to engage and try to defend here against Trawan, and he does so successfully. Long ball from Fannin. And it's going to bounce down to Stobbart. Carasalis nearly coughed up possession. Savast came across and at least made it a contest, but Darwin Hearts prevail. Niroj plays it out to the right side, no one home, and it's going to be a Port Darwin throw. Battle for possession, Dean against Niroj. And now Antura Argul, sweeping ball into the area. Hard to take control of though. Cut back to the top of the box. And Fannin is going to run in and take possession after his opponent just fell out of the way and volunteered the ball back to him. Committed defending coming through from Jayan Marlow. Fannin again, just goes for distance. Raimundo attempting to bring it out of the sky as a 1-on-2, couldn't do so. Sideways run through midfield now for Darwin Hart. They're just trying to get a feel for the ball, spend some time in possession. So Giles Shrestha, and look at that, Port Darwin uncompromising. It's almost a foul worth conceding just to send a little message saying you think you're going to enjoy spending a bit of time on the ball. Have another think about that. We're going to press you. We're going to pressure you. We're going to make it difficult for you here in this second half, of which 10 minutes have expired. Ball pitches in the penalty area and holds up right at the paint of the byline and eventually works its way out for a corner kick. Last touch off Port Darwin. We didn't see Hearts really make much of any of their corners in the first half, it must be said. Yeah, lots of shouting coming from the sidelines here as Port Darwin organise their defence for this Hearts corner kick. It's a high in-swinging looper to the far post, and first head was Port, and now cleared away very much abruptly by John Dean, just blazing it out over the touchline. Biomi Ane. Good close control from Ane, and his cross is unable to find a teammate. Just sliding a bit narrow, too close to the line, and out for a goal kick. Have we got a sub taking place now, George?
Yeah, we've got a double change now here for Hearts. You got Suman Road coming onto the field, as well as Ashmit Regmi coming on for Hearts. And they've made way for Sajal Trisha and also Sanjib Batari.
Thank you, George, down on the scene, taking us through those subs. Just a reminder, the number 34, Suman Rout, and 43, Ashmit Regmi, coming into the game for the number 10, Sajal Shrestha, and Sandip Subedi, the number 8. So they've already made 3 subs. Darwin Hearts, they are the team that's played in this Saturday afternoon spot most often of any during the course of the season, so no team has a better idea of what it takes to deal with the heat of the day better than Hearts. Maybe that's an explanation as to why they've made these changes with still so much time on the clock. Now, interesting free kick here, a little push in the back of Wild Jock, and is the referee giving a free kick right at the edge of the area? It looks like he is. So we saw in the first half, Raimundo nearly put a shot in the top corner. This one is even closer to the edge of the box, though, so it's going to need a good free kick to bend it around or over any potential wall. And unlike the first half, when Raimundo seemingly had no other suitors to take the free kick, there's at least a bit of a discussion going on over this one. And it appears as though they're going to stick with Raimundo as one of the options. And then now they're going to send in Jonah Rule. I'm just going to keep him guessing as Raimundo takes up the position for a left-footed taker. Rule for the right footer, 4 in the wall. Port Darwin trying to make it 3-0. And it is going to be Jonah Rule blazing it low, and it nearly worked out in the end. Hodor perhaps wasn't aware that that's where the ball was going. I'm fairly certain that wasn't planned, and it was a miss hit from Jonah Rule, but it very nearly turned into something. Ultimately, the result is a goal kick. Long ball, and Biomine trying to run onto it. And, well, I hate to say it, but after 15 minutes of the second half, that is perhaps the most purposeful attack that Darwin Hearts have had. They are really out of this game at the moment. It's very much going Port Darwin's way. Even though they've made 3 subs, Darwin Hearts, it hasn't brought a new lease of life or energy to their play just yet. Carasalis plays it back to O'Shea. Shallow back pass. And, well, goalkeeper sharply off his line, Dominic Price. And in to save the day. And, George, that could have totally swung the momentum had that ended up in the back of the net.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just caught, I think, the defender off guard. It's how soft she laid that pass. But luckily for them, their goalkeeper, the returning Dominic Price, was there quickly.
Now a high ball header at the far post. Price has to scramble again. But fortunately for him, and unfortunately for Darwin Hearts, it was a header that wasn't actually on the target. So the teams can again take a breather as this goal kick is set up, but the shallow back pass nearly playing in Darwin Hearts for what could have been the chance to peg a goal back and at least plant some seeds of doubt in the Port Darwin minds. Raimundo. Rule. Numbers sweeping forward on the right side. Adams, his cross. And turn behind for a corner kick to dispossess Wild Jock. And so Port Darwin set up a corner kick. Adams, the number 18, one of the obvious targets. He's looking to attack the near post, but it's a false start. Take 2. And it is looking for Adams at that near post, but Darwin Hearts had the numbers present. Raimundo crashing in, follows up, deflected, and Stobbart will prevent it going out for a repeat corner as he's over to collect. Chance for a long throw then. That's how the teams are setting up. John Dean does the honours. And at the near post, it's headed away. Hearts. Not many passes open to them, as reflected by the run-first approach. Scrappy play, neither team able to connect. And now Niroj trying to bring some quality back to this passage. And he's able to send it out to the left side. And Darwin Hearts might just be away. They almost had the numbers going for them, but Fannin comes through, stops the progress and sends it to Raimundo. And now his early ball is intercepted at the centre of defence. Bimali. And they handball, and you heard the shouts from the Port Darwin sideline, which were heated. Cleared from the centre of defence. Darwin Hart's trying to go long. Fannin leads into the header. John Dean gives it away. Niroj. And making the run from very deep here is Shrawan, but he's unable to chase the ball down. Again, showing a good turn of speed when the ball was there to be won, but just not enough to get it there before Dominic Price. Nepal caught in possession that time. Port Darwin steering it out to the left. Savas. Rule. Feel like he's hunting a return option here, but there's no one open for him. Eventually runs out of space, but he's able to still win a throw. Takes it quickly. Jock. Now back to Raimundo, unable to outfox the defenders this time. Looks up and sees nothing but white shirts, so he has to go to Savas. Now another opportunity here for Raimundo. And a long shot was on there and mishit completely by Hodor. And unlike the goal that he scored earlier in this second half, which was a very well taken chance, not so this time. And another sub on the way for Darwin Harts here, George.
Yeah, it's finally their most dangerous player in Robin Stresher making the appearance onto the pitch, as well as change for Port Darwin with Grifty coming onto the field. And we know that he's capable of scoring goals.
Yeah, bit of a surprise absentee from the starting 11, Endry Prifty. He's back onto the pitch now, looking to play a cameo role as Port Darwin try to add to their goal difference here in these last 25 minutes or so. Robin Shrestha straight into the action, the number 18, but unable to get his team out of the defensive half. Anatara Argul plays it back to the centre of defence. Now looking to move through the left, but they've had no joy down that flank so far. Jay Adams has been a great pillar for this Darwin Harts midfield and defence, stopping Darwin Harts in their tracks. And now the long ball, Biomi Anae. Oh, he was in a 1-on-2. He had it all to do, and Karasalis just read the bounce of the ball a little bit better. And you see Anae there applauding the initiative to try and get him in behind. Not the most convincing clearance. It fell quite short, but Fannin is going to make it work. Now Raimundo. He's able to slide it onto Rule. This Port Darwin midfield has had almost all the possession in this second half. Just trying to turn it into more goals before the game is over. Fannin. Attempted through ball is held onto by the goalkeeper Stobbart. And a beautiful bending long ball. They're in here. Oh, they're in. Yes, they've scored Hearts. They do get a goal back. And I think it was Krithal Nepal who got in behind on the end of that long ball. And with 20 minutes to go, this is far from a done deal. And Darwin Hearts have pegged it back to 2-1. And George, I'll throw down to you because our goal scorer wants to get subbed off.
Yeah, it actually looks like he is going to be taken off, and that is number 13 in Shrawan Stresha, the goal scorer, and it will be number 32, Ganesh Gurung, coming onto the pitch.
So disappointment there for Shrawan Shrestha. He scored the goal, and you could see there he was just favouring his hamstring, and he signalled to the bench, sub me off, and so he scores and has to leave the game. And Darwin Hearts, they have scored barely a handful of goals while trailing in a game this year. So if they were to come back and get a draw today, it would be a huge result for them. And in the context of the top 4 race, it would be even bigger because it would leave Casuarina on the verge of closing the door mathematically to finals. In fact, if this game ends up in a draw, Casuarina could close the door tonight if they were to beat Hellenic, the premiers of the league. Right now there's a free kick in Port Darwin, who might have been aspiring to boost their goal difference in the remaining 20 minutes. Instead, their focus turns back to simply making the 3 points safe. And they got undone. It's not like they didn't get a warning, though. That long ball over to Biomi Ane barely a minute earlier was indicative of what Darwin Hearts were trying, and then they succeeded with a well-measured pass. Raimundo can make it a moot point if he's able to score from this free kick. Bit of a discussion going on with Sean Hodor. So it's Jose Raimundo to try and restore the 2-goal buffer, and he lifts that well over the target. George, what's the mood like down on the Port Darwin bench? Are there any increased nerves now that they're not home and hosed?
Yeah, definitely, Terry. You're spot on with that. Coach of the Addison's very animated on the bench, and it seems a bit of nerves. A couple of players warming up for Port Darwin. The mood has instantly shifted, that's for sure.
Yeah, you get the feeling they would really love a 3rd goal. Darwin Hearts sensing the opportunity to play a major spoiler here. Of course, they have a 2-1 win head-to-head record against Port Darwin this season, so they've had more success against them than any other team in the competition by far. Their only other win was 1-0 against Uni Atsuri. Horo. Fannin. Well played by Hodor. Sweeping cross, header, and that was a great chance. Should perhaps have been 3-1, and Raimundo knows it. Oh, great cross in from the right side, and Raimundo leapt the right way, shaped his body, and then the execution in the direction of the header is what was lacking. And it's a handball committed by Oshim Bumali, who was quick to leave the scene. Didn't want to get booked for anything deliberate. Referee happy to let play continue. It's cut into the box, headed off the edge of the 6-yard. Trying to weave through midfield. Nirosh Shrestha. Every time he gets the ball, the danger will be much more heightened for Port Darwin. They cannot afford to draw this game. They must hold on and win. They'd love to go on with the job and make it safe. Score a third with 15 minutes remaining. Prifty plays it to Jock, cutting it back. Dean knocked over, and no thoughts of reaching for the whistle from the referee. It is out for a throw. Through close quarters, Port Darwin go again. Jock, he leaves it for Raimundo, and again, perhaps just the confidence to shoot on the turn. He really could benefit so much from adding that to his game, because in most instances you'd expect a forward to just turn and shoot. Instead, he was trying to tee up one of his teammates. Here is Oshim Bamali, Darwin Hearts. They're going to raise the heart rates of Port Darwin before this one is over. Biomi Ane. Back to Nepal. Ane. Still going. Slide challenge comes in, and the ball is spilled and booted clear. Mala, back pass to Stobbart, and very casually knocks it out to right back. Prifty trying to intercept the ball, but Hearts have got the numbers. Bimali, and then he boots it into his own man. Giant Mala rightfully says, "What are you doing? Clear the ball, don't kick it into me." Oh, I can see the funny side of it, but I don't think the Darwin Hearts defenders did. So they do have a long throw in the team here with John Dean, and he hurls this one right up into the 6-yard box and goes over everyone's head and bounces through the penalty area. Booted away. Ane trying to sneak through out the back. They can't get too cute here defending Port Darwin, because numbers are now arriving in support for Hearts. Fannin takes possession. Bit of a hit and hope. And now the through ball for Raimundo. Flag stays down. He's onside. Loses the remaining defender. This to seal it. He keeps the ball at his feet, lays it off Jock, and he's skied it. Oh, dear. And Port Darwin continue to waste chances and continue potentially to regret not putting this game out of Hearts' reach. And George, that is perhaps the most glaring opportunity of all.
Very much so, Teo. You can tell the frustration on Raimundo's face after that attempt there. And I guess it's twice now where he should have buried the ball himself, but trying to do the team thing. But when you're that close, you just got to get it on target, Raimundo.
A real lack of killer instinct in front of goal from Port Darwin has cost them. They could be a scoreline far closer to 4-1 or 5-1, which would have been the little bit of repair to the goal difference they so would have loved. Instead, with 10 minutes to go, they are still not home safe yet. It's going to be a corner kick. Port Darwin still looking for this final goal to put the game beyond doubt and to potentially set up a huge match with Casuarina next Saturday night. Hellenic versus Casuarina, of course, coming up later this evening. They haven't exactly played in a way, Port Darwin, that would have Casuarina shaking in their boots, but they are in front 2-1. That's the most important thing, the scoreboard. O'Shea. Lifting a long ball. Jock. Raimundo trying to accelerate into a gap that he saw through the left. Instead, Giant Marla steers him wide. O'Shea trying to chase down his own header, but Jonah Rule gets there first. Rule is going to fire, and it's a good save by Stobbart to parry it away. Was honing in on his left-hand post, and the goalkeeper able to get his hands to the ball. Hearts now can't advance on this occasion. Raimundo, Jock. Gap starting to open up as players tire. Rule on the tight angle and had a shoot first approach to that one, and it's been scooped out for a goal kick. 8 minutes of regulation to go. Have we got another sub coming up here, George?
No, we've got Captain Sean Hodder has actually gone down with a bit of cramp. Camera hasn't quite panned onto that one just yet, but yeah, he's down in the centre of the pitch. Seems to be okay. No substitution indicated as of yet for Darwin technical area. He's back to his feet now, but yeah, a bit of cramp coming towards the end of this match.
Hearts resume play with possession. And now a foul on Jock means a free kick for Port Darwin. They'll be happy to maybe even start thinking about winding the clock a little bit with a few time-wasting and stalling tactics here. Ball into the box, Jock, first touch, and then wasn't really able to bring the ball under his control. And the referee insisting that play stop, and it looks as though we are going to get some activity on the sidelines this time, George.
Yeah, definitely so. You got number 9, Peter Bartlett, entering the field of play for Port Darwin, and it's going to be a successful return for Wild Jock, who's being taken off the pitch after months with that facial injury. So that's good to hear. Is that a good return? But yeah, Peter Bartlett now onto the pitch for Port Darwin.
So Jock, who has had a good game, but not a great game. I feel as though had he taken some of the chances that presented, he could be walking away with a couple of goals to his name, and this match would be beyond any doubt. Instead, we still have some uncertainty going into the final 5 minutes. by Dean. Bartlett, first touch off the bench. Rondo. Bartlett caught in possession. Good pressing from Bartlett, able to win the ball back. Raimundo right on the edge of the box. So many defenders to deal with. Cuts it across. And is this the final? No. The shot comes in from Hodor and it's deflected away. Rule. And he's hooked that shot. It's not going to go out either. It's still a live ball. Wake up, players, and Darwin Hearts are able to get it at least to the edge of their defensive third. Now they're trying to work their way steadily through midfield. Prifty plays the ball out to the right side. Adams. Fannin caught in possession, but not made to pay for it. A gentle pass, giving the ball away. Do Hearts believe? Here's the chance for them all. Offside. Ball's in the back of the net, but it's not going to count. Biomi and 8 could have scored a vital goal. The flag is up and it rules it out, but they are dicing with danger here, Port Darwin, right at the end here, George.
Yeah, you couldn't have taken the words out of my mouth there, Tayo. It's almost as if, Port Darwin are trying to emphasise getting that, third goal, but towards the end of the game, we know it's so dangerous to get a goal and hard to landing that danger right now.
It's almost at the point where they should perhaps start to think about going a bit more offensive themselves here to make an absolute certainty of the threat and make sure the season at least stays alive for another weekend. Raimundo can have the best of both worlds by putting it to bed here. Lifts cross into the box, an up and under header. Bartlett just thrown himself off the bench, harass and hustle this one into the back of the net. Now Raimundo, and it's saved by Stobbart. Good stop, and he goes up and denies Raimundo again. And this game stays alive with 2 minutes to go. Port Darwin now have to try and stop Hearts going end to end. O'Shea is able to watch it safely over the line, out for a throw. Bartlett. And he's knocked off the ball here by Giant Marler. Strong defending. Bartlett back in though, refusing to be beaten. Marler equally so. And a big body check. Referee's blown the whistle. And it's a yellow card for Giant Marler. So a free kick right at the edge of the box for Port Darwin. And that'll take us into the last minute of regulation. Question is, George, do they play this free kick down to the corner and just win, or do they try and score a third?
I think definitely, Tayo, that they try to go for the third. There should be 3 additional minutes of added time. So there is still time for Hearts to get back into it. But for Darwin, the goals, I mean, they have been very stable at the back, bar a few chances. So I think we've got to go for it. Prifty over the ball. He's very dangerous.
Zone from about to tick into, as we heard there, 3 minutes of additional time. Prifty, and that is a harmless donation of possession back to Hearts, and that'll take us into stoppage time. So George, I'll ask you now as we do tick into the game, who's your man of the match this afternoon?
Oh, I tell you, that's a tough one. I think there's been a lot of handy contributors to support Darwin's cause today, but I think you got to go look no further than Sean Hodder, his captain's armband today. He's risen to the occasion. It's been there when his team's needed it most, and it's contributed as well with a classy goal.
Yeah, well said, George. It has been a very even confusion. And we see here, as the ball holds up at the edge of the box, Price is out to take possession and just boot the ball away. Hearts trying to be a major spoiler here and all but put the home and away season to bed. If they score here, Casuarina will have 1 foot and 4 toes in the finals. Not going to get possession. Rule plays it long and it runs down to the keeper. And that's going to be a corner kick, so just in case it wasn't enough concern and worry down at the end of this game, we've got the referee coming over to the sidelines here. There's going to be a late sub, Tobias Kogai. Left out of the starting 11 for this game. They're going to sub him on here just to defend this corner, it seems, right at the end of the match. Of course, some coaches are superstitious and don't make subs while defending set pieces. No such concerns for Port Darwin here. It's going to take us into the very last minute. And this is season on the line stuff. They need to stand tall and defend here. Otherwise, it could just be the end of their finals charge. Corner for Port Darwin. Into the pack players it goes. First head was Port Darwin's, but an up and under. And now potential counter-attack. Biomia slides in, stops it in its tracks, and then gives up the ball. Kogai, first touch off the bench for him. Plays it to Raimundo. 30 seconds of added time to go, and that is a hard foul from Biomia. And that should be enough. Port Darwin will take their time here. They'll be in no hurry to restart play. A game which it was at their mercy. They will rue some of the chances that they couldn't convert because it left them in such a hair-raising finish to this match, having to hold on to the points. If they can get a third for the road, well, no, they can't. Bartlett is unable to challenge the keeper. But for now, their season remains alive, and Port Darwin will be hoping that Hellenic can do them a big favour later tonight and beat Casuarina, and that will set up a massive clash against Casuarina next Saturday. It was far from convincing. Port Darwin came here needing it to win, and ultimately they have, but not without Darwin an almighty fright. Stick around for the post-game show with Bruce and George. On behalf of our broadcast team and Sport Australia, our broadcast partners, thank you for watching Northern Territory Men's Premier Division. Top score in the afternoon fixture, Darwin 2, Darwin Hearts 1.
Welcome back. We're here at Darwin Football Stadium on a Saturday afternoon and got a very stiff breeze coming in behind us. You make pictures moving forward. Yours is amazing, Joel, sitting up there. And George, your salad is good on that top there. Listen, we had a game then in which you guys won 2-1. Before I go to George and ask you a couple of questions, how's it feel to be back playing?
Well, it was really fantastic because I couldn't actually wait to come back, and it's been like a long time and those sort of stuff. So I missed my lads and those sort of stuff, and I miss playing actually.
Yeah, it looked like that. It looked like you were very excited to be out there. So how actually long were you off?
I've been off for like 2 months actually, so it was like forever, and I couldn't actually wait actually.
It was like those guys in prison where you write the date up on the wall and just every day goes past one more off. Was it like that?
Yeah, actually, everyone was asked that.
Now, George, a couple of questions from you again. How you fit in as a player today?
Yeah, well, I thought you played well today, your appearance, first game back. Just, I guess, touching on your energy levels throughout the game, it seemed as though you had, full gas at the start of the game, and even when you came off, it seemed like you were just running all day. Did it feel like that for yourself out there?
Well, it was really hard for me to actually survey myself back and survey it forward because I was really exhausted and no one was actually helping me, and that's, yeah.
I guess just touching on the some of the chances you had up front. I know that maybe you might have some more words with Raimundo a bit later. There's a couple of chances that he might have tucked away, but he was being generous and trying to give them to you. Is that just first game back in 2 months and you just need to get back into the shape of things?
Actually, because that's what we do, and sometimes we do that with him in the training and those stuff. Yeah.
And so I guess just one last question. I guess the result was the most important thing today. Points is what you needed. 3 points is what you got. Has Lee's attitude at training been about let's just keep going 1 week each by week?
Exactly, actually, because this was actually my first game ever since I never played against them. And I was really, really excited that we got 3 points. Lee actually was really excited about it, and yeah.
Well said, young man, and congratulations on the win today. Just hang in before we say goodbye. Georgia, always great to hear your expert comments. You got 3 points. You're still in the hunt for 4th place. Are you doing a bit of refereeing as well?
Yeah, exactly. I'm doing the referee. So it was really hard for me to make a decision because there's some couples of fouls that was attempted there, and I was like, that's a red card, there's a yellow card, and it was hard calling for a penalty there, but like, I couldn't make it.
Well, he's your colleague now as a referee as well, mate, so you got to keep them quiet. But it's good to see you back fit. You were really energetic, and as George said, you had that energy level when you came off, and you got it right now, so well done, mate. On behalf of everyone, whatever screens you've been watching, thank you for joining us on this presentation, live streaming of the Men's Premier League 16 match, a win today for Port Darwin over Darwin Hearts, and we'll be back again at 8 o'clock tonight. Hope you can join us then when the Men's Premier League here in Darwin continues. Before then, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. We'll see you tonight.